This is the Gophers Insider Podcast, show number 3. This is Marcus Fuller from the Star Tribune. And we've also got Ryan James here from PrepHoops.com and Gopher Illustrated. And I know this has nothing to do with the Gophers, but I have to say it because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I'm going to the premiere tonight, and I can't wait. I don't have my Star Wars shirt with me, but that actually pisses me off a lot. As you all know, we've already talked about that, but we have to share our favorite Star Wars movie and character to start off the show. So I'll let you go ahead with that, Ryan.
My favorite movie, honestly, I have to say my favorite movie of all the Star Wars ones is a tie between Rogue One and, I'm sorry, I can't remember all the names. It was the most recent one.
All right, we're going to end the show right here. You can't remember the names.
Whatever number 8
You're
was.
killing me.
I don't take offense to the fact that I can't remember a name of a Star Wars movie. I remember Rogue One, and that's amazing to me. And then whatever number 8 was that they filmed us like last year or 2 years ago, those are my 2 favorites. And my favorite character forever is Chewbacca. I love Chewbacca. And when we went to Disney, Chewbacca was so good to my daughter. He has to be number 1 forever.
Can you do Chewbacca? Let me hear it.
No, come on, man.
That's pretty good. That's actually pretty good. I like that. Okay, I'm going to share mine. I think I'm surprised you didn't say it because that's most people's favorite is Empire Strikes Back. It's the iconic moment. Luke, I am your father. That was terrible. I like the lightsaber scene in that one. There's been a lot of lightsaber scenes since that, but that one takes the cake. The special effects aren't there, but I mean, come on now. Who wouldn't want to face down Darth Vader? And my favorite character, I would say Darth Vader, but that's just too easy. So I'm actually going to go with a surprise one. I actually like Finn in this new series here. I've always wanted to be a stormtrooper deep down. So the fact that he was one and he actually broke away from the First Order, I'm showing my geekness here, but I thought that was pretty cool, man. So. All right, there you go, Star Wars fans. There's our favorites, and my favorite scene. I'm gonna have that. I have to share that with you guys, and that's when Yoda picked up a lightsaber. I still get chills whenever I see that scene when Yoda picked up a lightsaber. But we'll carry on here with the Gopher show. We have definitely a lot to talk about, and first off, I want to hats off to the Gopher volleyball team. I know they lost in the Final Four. It was a tough one to Stanford in 3 sets, but. We had a great season, finished second in the Big Ten. Obviously, they got back to the Final Four first time since, I believe, 2015. And this is a team that went through a lot of adversity this year. They had some injuries. They had some young players that needed to step up in different roles. And, come on now. We have to give credit where credit's due. They made the Final Four. They weren't able to do that last year when it was in Minneapolis. And it was a heartbreaker when they couldn't make it at home. So for them to get back to this level, again, with all the adversity they went through, I got to give Hugh McCutcheon and his team credit for that.
Myself as well. And right now, the culture that the volleyball team has grown over time is at such a level that they are a hot ticket. And the beautiful thing about it is they're recruiting well. They have one of the best coaches. Would you say he's the best coach? The best coach? We're in Minnesota, of course. The best coach. And the best part about it is they return all their first team, all Big Ten players, including obviously Regan Pittman, but also CeCe McGraw and Stephanie. I don't remember how to say it. Samade. They return. Yeah, they return. They're all Big Ten players. So it's a culture. It is something that's established, and it's a continued success. So now the goal is that ultimate prize, and it's something that people in the Twin Cities, people in the state of Minnesota, I have absolutely fallen in love with, and they follow it strong.
Yeah, they just ran into a buzzkill one of the best volleyball players that I've ever seen in Catherine Plummer for Stanford. I mean, she was 6'6". She's obviously one of the most accomplished volleyball players of all time, multiple Player of the Year honors, 3-time first team All-American. You're going to see her in the Olympics, I'm sure, this summer. And, I just think that when it comes down to it, they were playing a better team. But it doesn't take away from what they did. Alexis Hart, she had a great career. Some of the other seniors. So again, like you said, he was the best, and I think they'll be back to this point. Whether it's not next year, but sometime soon, because they have the talent for sure.
Well, it's definitely something that's been able to capture fans. We don't have volleyball players in our house, but we have several degrees from the University of Minnesota in our house, and I have 3 daughters, and they all enjoyed it tremendously. So it's something that's really capturing the hearts of a lot of people in the Twin Cities.
And I segue to football because this was another big week for. We found out the bowl opponent a little while ago, but this is signing day, and it's funny that people are used to it now. But I was covering the team back when they had signing day in February, and that was the big moment. And now it's in December before the new year. I think it's better for coaches to be able to sign kids a little earlier because there's always that window of opportunity for these guys to decommit. A place like Minnesota, it happened a lot under Jerry Kill, even Tim Brewster, where they evaluated a kid maybe a little bit more than bigger schools, and they'd come in and take the kid right from under their nose. And obviously PJ Fleck's done a good job of keeping some of these players, like Rashad Bateman not that long ago when Georgia came calling. And it seems like he had a pretty good, I want to say under the radar class. They got a few 4-star recruits, but this looks like a pretty solid class that PJ Fleck got this year.
Well, each year the Gophers are building and recruiting. Like each year they're taking steps forward. Now, if you look at the Big Ten rankings, in terms of like the 24/7 rankings, don't look at the composite rankings. That composite rankings are something.
You guys are so confusing. I don't get it.
They are. It's something that I'm not a big fan of, especially considering it includes ESPN, and ESPN, like, not only did they not put much effort into recruiting coverage before, they fired most of the people that were doing it what they had. So they don't have anybody really. ESPN doesn't have anybody that's doing any type of job. For the most part, following recruits in a big way. But they just because they're ESPN, they still throw something on a website, and because of that, some people look at it. So that's why I'm not big on the composite. I look at 24/7's rankings themselves, and that's where Minnesota falls in the spot of a 7th in the Big Ten, and their national rank is 33. These are good spots. These are excellent spots for the University of Minnesota. They're taking steps. They did a fantastic job landing some linebackers. They got probably my favorite recruit and most people's favorite recruit is Kai Thomas out of Topeka. But the beautiful thing about this is I just named you probably their 2 biggest prizes, and they landed these players in the early part of the summer. Because PJ Fleck, he zeroes in on who he wants, gets after them, and gets them done early. So once the season starts for the kids, they're focused on their high school football season. Once the season has started for the football team, for the Gophers, they're focused on their football season. And they have their recruiting class done by then. And they had already locked in on key names like Kai Thomas and Itavian Brown and Jaquandis Burns. The last 2 were linebackers. And it rounds into a fantastic class. And then the biggest part of it all is probably landing 4-star defensive end Ja Joyner, who was a Boston College 4-star commit, but then Boston College had a coaching change. He opened up. The Gopher staff moved right in. They had a connection with his coach, and they land a 4-star player in Ja Joyner. Those, like the names I just went through, along with Daniel Jackson out of Kansas, that's a level of recruiting that we haven't consistently seen here. In the past, we've had one class pop up here, pop up there, but right now, PJ is building consistency in recruiting. And Marcus, do you remember the days when they'd get kids at the last moment in February and they would be beating out like Army and then Kent State? And then sometimes you'd even lose a kid to like I don't know, not South Florida is a bad example. It's like Florida International instead of coming to Minnesota. Now, when you look at lists, they're beating out real Big Ten teams.
Power 5 teams, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the lists are good, but the beautiful thing is some of these people look at the offer list and they're like, well, why does Kai Thomas only have this amount of offers?
Yeah, I think that, if you look at the top of the list, obviously we look at the stars, but I like to look at the positions as well. And, I think the Gophers, obviously, they've done a good job of establishing a culture where they have success at wide receiver, running back. I think linebacker is another position where you've seen a lot of production and guys playing at all Big Ten level. So I'm excited to see what this coaching staff can do to develop some of these players. I mean, you talked about Daniel Jackson, Kai Thomas is the running back, but I think that if you look at this recruiting class, one thing that I also look at, other than the top recruits as far as star ratings, I also look at the in-state players, and I know that there only a handful of them, but I really like Jonathan Mann, from Rosemont, and I really think that his size at 6'3", 200 pounds as a wide receiver. I don't know if he's going to still end up playing wide receiver. We'll see. But I can't understand. I don't know why he wouldn't. He kind of excites me a lot because they've had some success with in-state receivers. When you talk about Eric Decker, Tyler Johnson, and players with that talent level. So I'm always excited about the local kids. Like I said, I know there's not that many of them in this class, but again, you get a couple kids, the top kids in the state, and then you do a good job of filling out the rest of your recruiting class in positions of need and with talent. And, he's just going to continue to build this program to where they can, have depth and then consistency.
And one of the things that people will always do around here, and it's natural and it's okay for people to do it, is to look at the best players locally, look who we landed, look who Minnesota landed, look who they did not land. Would you like that? Would it be nice that they added Caden Johnson and Terry Lockett? Yeah, it would be. But unfortunately, the Gophers, fortunately for the Gophers, Itavian Brown, who is not only a fantastic football player, but one of the reasons he signed up for Minnesota is because he's a natural-born leader. And this guy wants to play in a system like PJ Fleck's, the way PJ Fleck coaches. They already have Itavian Brown as an outside linebacker recruit. They're already bringing in Jaquandis Burns from Florida. Like these are fantastic recruits. So maybe they didn't land the big name locally, but at that position, they've done a fantastic job at linebacker. The kid from Hamilton, Wisconsin, Lucas Finisay, very good player. I think he's the guy that also I saw play AAU basketball. So he's a great athlete. And Cody Lindenberg I've seen play basketball. He's a strong kid, hard worker, excellent athlete. If I could take what I saw him playing basketball defensively, like I love that as a linebacker. And I know Ryan Burns, who has looked at this, and I know the analysts at 24/7 love Cody Lindenberg. So linebacker-wise, they did fantastic, and wide receiver as well. That's another big-time position because they added Daniel Jackson from Kansas. That's a 4-star recruit. They added Jonathan Mann, who you talked about. I was able to see him live against Lakeville South, and he had 2 catches going up to get the ball over position defensive backs. That's the type of play that was special to me. That's the type of play that I watched Michael Floyd make back when I was covering recruiting. That's the type of play.
That's a blast from the past. That's a blast from the past right there.
Now, I'm not saying he's Michael Floyd, but it reminded me of how he went up and got the ball in those 2 catches. That's what it reminded me of. So like the talent in the class is there. And I didn't even talk about Douglas Emelian from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Like he's another one that could play early because there's parts of his game that are already established. Like it's not just that they had a good class, but like some of the areas that they landed guys in linebacker, in wide receiver, Kai Thomas at running back, and we're seeing when we talked about John Joyner, you added Danny Strigow from Orono, and you add in Jalen Logan Redding. These are all guys with good national ranks at their position, and those last 3 I mentioned are all defensive ends. So they did great at defensive end, great at linebacker, great at wide receiver, and that's big for them.
Right. I mean, and we have to be honest,